You probably traveled farther today than most ancient humans did in an entire lifetime. You stepped into a car, boarded a bus, or climbed onto a train, and within minutes you were miles from home. Travel feels effortless because someone else solved the problem long ago. But for almost all of human history, every journey began with a single step. No roads, no bridges, no maps, no signposts. Every river was an obstacle. Every mountain was a barrier. Every unfamiliar valley could hide hunger, predators, or people who did not welcome strangers. Yet somehow our ancestors spread from Africa to nearly every corner of the planet. They crossed deserts, glaciers, dense forests, and open seas with nothing but simple tools, careful observation, and extraordinary determination. They explored places they could not see and survived journeys that should have been impossible. How did a species that once traveled only on foot reach distant islands, frozen tundras, and towering mountain ranges thousands of years before engines, roads, or compasses? The answer is not one invention or one brilliant discovery. It is a chain of bold ideas, each solving one impossible problem after another. And it all began with the oldest vehicle ever. Before humans built boats, tamed horses, or invented wheels, they relied on one remarkable advantage: endurance. We were never the fastest animals on Earth. A cheetah could outrun us in seconds, and even a horse could leave us far behind. But speed was never humanity's greatest strength. Our greatest strength was the ability to keep moving long after every other predator had stopped. The human body evolved for distance. Our long legs reduced the energy needed for every step. Arches in our feet acted like natural springs, while strong Achilles tendons stored and released energy with each stride. Millions of sweat glands cooled our bodies, allowing us to travel under the hot African sun when other animals needed shade. Day after day, our ancestors simply kept walking. The oldest evidence of this incredible ability comes from fossilized footprints discovered at Laetoli in Tanzania. Preserved in volcanic ash nearly 3.6 million years ago, they reveal early human ancestors walking upright across the landscape. Those footprints look surprisingly similar to our own, proving that efficient walking has been part of our story for millions of years. That simple ability changed everything. Generation after generation, humans slowly expanded beyond familiar lands, following animals, searching for food, and exploring new horizons. But eventually, every journey faced the same obstacle that even the strongest walker could not overcome alone. Walking could take humans across valleys, forests, and endless plains, but sooner or later every journey reached an obstacle that refused to move. Rivers carved through migration routes. Lakes blocked hunting grounds. Coastlines separated entire worlds. For thousands of years, even a narrow stretch of water could force people to turn back. Nature had drawn a line that human legs alone could not cross. Then someone noticed something extraordinary. A fallen log floated instead of sinking. A bundle of branches stayed above the water long enough to support weight. What began as a simple observation slowly became one of humanity's greatest breakthroughs. Early rafts and primitive boats allowed people to cross rivers that had once seemed impossible, opening entirely new landscapes to explore. Archaeological discoveries on Indonesia's Flores island reveal stone tools nearly 800,000 years old, even though the island was never connected to the mainland. At some point, ancient humans crossed open water deliberately. The boats themselves disappeared long ago because wood and bamboo decay, but the evidence of their journey remains. Around 65,000 years ago, modern humans reached Australia, crossing stretches of ocean far beyond the horizon. They could not see the land waiting ahead. They trusted their skills, built vessels strong enough to survive, and paddled into the unknown. They had conquered water, but another challenge still remained: carrying everything needed to survive. Crossing water opened new lands, but surviving in them created a different challenge. Ancient humans could now reach distant places, yet they still had to transport everything they needed to live. Fresh meat spoiled quickly, firewood was heavy, and stone tools were difficult to carry over long distances. Every extra pound slowed the journey, forcing people to choose between traveling farther or bringing enough supplies to survive. At first, there was no clever invention to solve this problem. Hunters simply carried everything on their backs. But after exhausting journeys and successful hunts, they realized that lifting heavy loads wasted valuable energy. A large animal could feed an entire group, yet dragging its massive body by hand was painfully slow and physically demanding. So they discovered a simpler solution. Instead of carrying their prey, they pulled it. Animal hides became natural sleds, allowing heavy carcasses to slide across grass, dirt, or snow with far less effort than lifting them. This small change made an enormous difference. Hunters could return with more food, families could transport larger camps, and migrations became easier because fewer supplies had to be abandoned along the way. Humans had learned an important lesson. Sometimes survival was not about becoming stronger. It was about making hard work easier. Soon, that same idea would inspire an invention that carried even greater loads with far less effort. Even with better ways to drag heavy loads, humans still faced one unavoidable limit. Every journey depended on their own strength. The farther they traveled, the more energy they spent, and the less they could carry. To explore greater distances, they needed something stronger than themselves. The first breakthrough came with dogs. Around 15,000 years ago, humans domesticated wolves, creating partners that helped with hunting, protection, and eventually transportation. In icy northern regions, dogs pulled sleds carrying food, tools, and supplies across snow-covered landscapes. For the first time, people could move more without exhausting themselves. Then came the greatest transportation partner in history, the horse. Around 5,500 years ago, communities on the grasslands of Central Asia learned to tame and ride these powerful animals. Everything changed. A journey that once demanded weeks of walking could now be completed in only a few days. Trade routes stretched farther, messages traveled faster, and distant settlements became connected like never before. Different environments required different animals. Camels crossed deserts where water was scarce. Donkeys carried goods through rocky valleys. Reindeer hauled sleds across the frozen Arctic, while llamas transported supplies high through the Andes Mountains. Wherever humans settled, they found an animal capable of overcoming the landscape's greatest challenges. For thousands of years, these partnerships shaped civilizations. But one invention would multiply their power, allowing animals to pull far heavier loads than ever before and transforming transportation once again. For thousands of years, animals made travel faster, but moving heavy cargo remained difficult. A horse could carry a rider, and a camel could haul supplies, yet there was still a limit to how much weight any animal could transport. Humans needed a way to move larger loads with less effort. Surprisingly, the answer was not invented for transportation. The earliest wheels were created for pottery, spinning clay into smooth, symmetrical pots. Then someone imagined a different possibility. What if that spinning circle could carry weight instead of shaping it? Around 5,200 years ago, the first wooden wheels appeared in parts of Europe and Mesopotamia. They were thick, solid, and incredibly heavy, but they worked. Attached to simple carts, they allowed animals to pull far more cargo than ever before. Farmers transported harvests, merchants carried goods across longer distances, and builders moved massive stones that would have been impossible to carry by hand. As wheels improved, roads became increasingly important. Ancient civilizations began building smoother routes that connected villages, cities, and trading centers. Travel became safer, trade expanded, and powerful kingdoms could supply distant settlements more efficiently than ever before. The wheel did more than make transportation easier. It connected people, ideas, and economies across vast regions. Yet even with roads stretching across continents, one enormous frontier still challenged humanity: the open sea beyond the horizon. Roads could connect cities, but they ended where the sea began. Beyond every shoreline stretched an unknown world, separated by vast oceans that seemed impossible to cross. Reaching those distant lands required more than simple boats. It demanded knowledge, courage, and remarkable navigation. Ancient sailors learned to study nature with incredible precision. They followed the stars after sunset, tracked the sun during daylight, and understood the patterns of winds, waves, and migrating birds. Long before compasses or maps existed, experienced navigators could sail hundreds of miles using nothing but the world around them. Among history's greatest explorers were the Polynesians. Around 3,000 years ago, they built powerful double-hulled canoes capable of carrying entire families across the Pacific Ocean. Guided only by their deep understanding of nature, they settled islands separated by thousands of miles of open water, including Hawaii, New Zealand, and Easter Island. The oceans no longer divided civilizations. They connected them. Trade, ideas, cultures, and inventions spread farther than ever before, linking distant societies across the world. By then, humans had mastered travel across land and sea. The greatest barriers had fallen, and the modern world was finally beginning to take shape. Today, we cross countries in hours and oceans in a single day. We unlock our phones, order a ride, and complain when it arrives a few minutes late. Travel has become so easy that we rarely think about the thousands of years of human effort behind it. But every road, every bridge, every railway, and every airport exists because our ancestors refused to stay where they were. They walked across continents without maps, crossed rivers on floating logs, trusted animals to carry their lives, and sailed into oceans without knowing if land even existed beyond the horizon. They solved one impossible problem after another, not in a single lifetime, but across countless generations. Each discovery made the world a little smaller and brought humanity a little closer together. The next time you begin a journey, remember this: your trip didn't start when you turned the key or boarded a plane. It started thousands of years ago, when one ancient human looked toward an unknown horizon, took the first step, and inspired every journey that followed.